Hello and welcome to another life group discussion video. We're excited just to facilitate another discussion. We're going to be looking at life after Rise Conference, but before we get into it, I'm honoured today to be joined by these incredible location pastors who are just going to quickly share how they're doing and how their location's going. Jonny.
Hi. Barney Castle is going really well.
Great. Ed?
Hi. Penrith is also going pretty well. Outside of specific things, it's going really well. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
It's we're seeing growth and encouraging sign.
Great. Judy, how's working then?
Yes, it's good. The second Cumbrian location. Cumbria is God's own country, as we know.
Yeah.
And he's blessing us.
Yeah, we all know that Cumbria is God's holiday spot.
That's it.
He lives in England.
The Riviera.
He lives in England, lives in Richmond and stuff. So, but yeah, we're going to be talking about living life after Rise Conference. Rise Conference was brilliant, wasn't it?
So good.
It was just God moved. It was incredible times of worship. Pastor Matt Varghese, the words that he brought were just incredible. But everything that we've heard and learned, like, how do we live in that daily? So the first question we're going to point over to you guys first in your life groups is just simply, how did God move in your life during Rise Conference? Share some testimonies about what God did. Incredible. So you'd find in Matthew 17 is the account of the Mount of Transfiguration. And if you see, you'll notice that Jesus and Peter, James and John, they go up to the mountain. They spend a couple of days in the presence of God. And what's incredible is they were having their own conference. They initially took time out of their normal day-to-day life to seek God. Rise Conference was the same. But what we notice with the Mount of Transfiguration, when they come down after spending 3 or 4 days with God, the first thing they're hit with is a demon-possessed boy. Basically, life got back to normal. They had this great moment, and then they suddenly got smacked in the face by normal life. So a question I want to pose to you guys is this: how do we effectively live in the light of everything that God did in Rise Confidence and not let, like normal day, kind of wipe away that everything God had done over the weekend? Any thoughts?
Yeah, good question. I think, I've been to conferences over the years and even Rise Conference this time. And just, God, if you're ready and available, God will speak to you. God will move in your life. But the challenge is that when you step back into reality, because sometimes it doesn't feel like reality, does it? Being in a conference, we call it a conference bubble or whatever, and that it can so easily all get drained away because something will happen. You'll have an unexpected bill, or someone will get sick, or whatever, and it's easy for not even normal life to return. But in how you perceive it is things get worse. But I think my challenge would be to actually not just make notes at conference, as I'm sure many of you did, but to actually read those notes, go over them, listen to the podcasts when they're available of the messages that we've all heard, and actually try and take yourself back to that. Try and actually use that as a springboard for your future. Don't be like, oh, well, God said all this, but it can't happen now. Yeah. But actually be like, actually, God, no, I'm standing firm on what you said and what you promised, and clinging on to that as I walk through this season of uncertainty or whatever it is. So, yeah, I would say write things down, go over them again and again, and pray about them. Just hold strong to the word of God.
Very good. Judy?
Yeah, I think it's to remember that whatever we are surprised or shocked by when we get home isn't a surprise or a shock to God. And in fact, he may have deliberately curated that moment for us to address because of what he's given to us while we're at conference. There will be, specific things he's equipped us with to shine a light in the darkness. And so, we have to take hold of that moment with God. And as I said, write it down, meditate on it, ask God to just fix it in our hearts so that then when we're facing the darkness, we know we're equipped to deal with it. And that is why we're here. We're not here to live in a Christian bubble, protected from everything that the world is going through, but to go into the world and stand with them, but say, look, here's your hope, here is your God, and he has the answers to the darkness that you're living in.
Good.
Yeah, it's really good. I was just reminded of the parable of the four soils. And that's, I guess, what we're looking for off the back of something like Rise Conference, isn't it? We want to see a harvest in people's lives. We want to see fruitfulness. We want to see, abundance kind of come and grow through what God has done in us and through the seeds, I guess, that He's planted in us. And I was just reminded of that, the parable of the four soils, where it talks about the seed that fell on rocky places is the man who hears the word at once, receives it with joy, which I guess could be quite easy at conference, but then has no root and it lasts for a short time because of trouble or persecution. And then the one where the seed fell among the thorns, he hears the word, but things like worries of life, deceitfulness of wealth choke it. So it's been mindful of coming, we've received something that's been planted in our heart. We need to obviously make sure that we receive it with joy, but also then we're looking out for the things that can cause worry in our lives, cause fear in our lives, cause those things that are listed in that parable where the seed doesn't produce the harvest, the seed that falls on good soil. So it's being mindful of those things, I think, and really receiving the word and allow it to produce that fruit in our lives. So
That's good.
Really good.
Very good. I'm very well, in my head, I was thinking more, how do we not make Rise Conference just a moment in our life that sometimes can be moved to a museum? It's kind of like, oh, remember when God did that? You look, it's, oh, yeah. Or you pick up your T-shirt a couple of months ago. Oh, yeah, God, yeah. There was a museum of remembering, but actually it was a movement that started that of faith that developed. So
yeah, totally.
handing over to you guys, the question is really that is how do you live in light of conference? What's your proper response? What do you want to achieve or do in light of Rise Conference? Awesome. Welcome back. We hope that was a great discussion. Now, Pastor Ben at conference brought an incredible message entitled Believe Again. I don't know about you, but it was so good. How blessed we are to have just world-class speakers, but also our pastors being world-class in what they brought as well. And it was titled Believe Again. And a question I want to ask you guys is, has there been a time in your life where you've had to choose to believe and trust in God? And what happened? Judy.
Yeah, there were so many testimonies, and I think God continually challenges us with the next situation that is going to stretch us. So that from recent history, it would be when God, at Rise Conference actually, challenged us to go back to Cumbria, back to Workington, and to plant a church. And just then holding on to that through the years of the pandemic, and the uncertainty of it being on hold and us not being able to proceed as quickly as we had planned to, just holding on specifically to the words that God had promised us through that time, that it was going to happen and He was going to use us. And also through just needing to find a house and selling our own house in the middle of a pandemic.
Wow.
It was an interesting time, but God was so faithful to us and proved that we could trust Him.
That's good. Awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think there's obviously like lots of different examples that you could choose from, and I think there are the big ones, but I think what I feel as though God's reminding me at the moment is all those little decisions where it's like that you have to make that decision to I'm going to trust God now. I'm going to trust God now, not just in the big things, but actually in the day-to-day things as well. And so, those little decisions where you think to yourself, I'm going to trust God in this situation, those add up and those lead to bigger things in the sense that what God brings us to, what God calls us to. But you know, the temptation is always to settle, and I'm at the moment I'm you know, I guess I'm in that situation at the moment where I feel like, no, I will I settle, or will I really actually trust God in this, take a step of faith, take a step out, and really really believe what God has for me. And yeah, it's a challenge. And so you know, I think back to how the Barnet Castle location started. There was obviously stepping out and trusting God then. You know, I think back to, you know, the whole kind of moment that started my ministry journey, I guess you could say, when I had to choose between university or ministry. That was obviously a step of faith. And you know, just I'm thankful to God that I've made those choices to trust him, but the challenge for me is to keep making those choices to trust God, even in you know, where I'm at now. So.
Great, very good, awesome.
Yeah.
Ed?
Awesome. And yeah, I would just say, I think life as a self-employed plasterer is or probably to anyone who's self-employed in any other way, it's sort of total trust on God, really. And I think I've just seen his faithfulness. You know, I've never been without work. There were some times where, you know, when I first kind of stepped out on my own, where I wouldn't know what I was going to be doing the next week, but would always have something. And it's learning to trust God that when there's times where you're looking ahead and thinking there isn't loads of work, it's standing on that. Well, he's never let you down. And I keep coming back to that. And if ever I get worried and I share it with Anna or someone, she always says, well, you know, he's never let you down before. And he hasn't. And so it's kind of remember it. And that just shows like how easily that no matter how advanced you are as a Christian or whatever, just how quickly you can forget and fall into a place of worry, a bit like, you know, when Elijah comes down from the mountaintop and then, you know, is told that Jezebel's going to kill him or whatever, and he fears for his life and runs. And it's like, you know, God was with you so clearly on the mountaintop. And that's where we just have to just shake ourselves sometimes and just be like, no, actually, you know, God's never let us down. You know, I love it where it says in the Bible about, you know, he is faithful. He can't deny himself. That is his nature, even when we're faithless. So, yeah, it's...
That's very good. So over to you guys then. Has there been times where you've had to choose to believe again? And what happened? Just share testimonies of just faith, and let those testimonies encourage others and help their faith increase as well. And we'll come back for one more question. Hey, welcome back. We hope that was a great time of just testimonies. It says this in Philippians 4, verse 9. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. So our final question for you guys to discuss and then spend some time praying together is this. What do you need to do in light of Rise Conference? What is your next step? What is the next thing you want to believe for? What is God calling you to in light of what happened at Rise Conference? Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.